My dear dark ones, welcome to my channel. Today it's a game. It's a psychic test to test your intuition and to enhance your intuition. So I will be having a couple of tarot cards closed like that, and you try to guess what card am I holding. It's only major arcana cards, and also you don't have to guess specifically what card is that, but you can guess a color or what you can sense. Is there a figure of a person, or is there no people shown in the card? So whatever this comes to you, share with me in the comment section and then see if you guessed right or wrong. The purpose of this test is just to enhance your psychic abilities, because sometimes we feel it's very boring to practice on our own, and it's rarely that someone actually practices on objects, right? We usually practice on something else, like we practice on people's energy during the readings, and I've never seen people practicing in normal life with objects. And it's very actually a good practice to practice with tarot cards, what you can pick up from a tarot card, because it also helps you to work on your intuition and to connect with tarot decks, especially if you have a friend who can come over and you can do this same game, like placing the tarot card with the back of it towards you and try to guess what you can see or sense, and then when you see the cards you actually see the results. The more you do it, especially with other people, because it's more fun and you can go through more cards, the more your intuition will grow, especially for people who are gifted with this type of intuition and with this type of abilities, when you can see or sense the objects. It is a very rare gift to have. The majority of people can sense people more, or channel people or entities. We are more into necromancy, into invocations or demonology, into channeling, into even prophecies, divination. This is easier, right? Because you are dealing with something that is alive, something that has the soul. Even the entities, there are more alive than objects. So working with objects and trying to see them is way harder, but it is a rewarding process, because if you can guess what card it is or what color there, it's so much easier for you to actually work with people. So I'm gonna give you a few seconds where I will be silent so you can actually see if you can guess the card. I also remember some of you asked me on my community post on YouTube how to embrace the darkness. Like, is there any easy way? And I think you asked the way I did it. So for me personally, I think embracing the darkness, it was easy because it came with this realization that, when you, for example, if you come from a religious background, and the majority of us do, the religion always talks about the dark being the bad guy, the evil, and the light is being the good thing, right? So when you start going away from the religion, because the majority of people who are into occult, they kind of left the religion, or even if you start thinking outside of the religious box, so to say, if you think about, it's actually very common knowledge that if you even go through Bible or through any major religious book, it is said that God killed millions of people and Satan killed like 1? I don't even remember. And if you think of it, it was the God who sent the angels to kill children in Egypt, and to test all the people by trying to kill children, right? And if you think of it, so the light is not so innocent, And the dark is not so evil, right? And also there is always duality in everything. The light can be made of both dark and light, and the darkness can consist light as well. And one cannot live without the other. And sometimes we think about the things the way our parents told us to think, or religion or society. We don't think for ourselves. So the easiest way to acknowledge the darkness is to probably start thinking for yourself and start realizing that some of these dogmas we have in our mind are not real. They come from a book that who said is real, right? And there is always two sides of a coin, and just by removing this block from the mind that we have usually from childhood, it helps you to embrace the darkness. Also, I'm not saying that there are no evil demons out there, but also there are evil angels. So, and probably when you talk about darkness and light, you do talk about these Christian ideas or religious ideas of dark and light. But if you go to, for example, Hinduism or Buddhism, they do have the gods and deities that they worship equally. And these gods and deities, some of them are good, but some of them are actually very bad. Bali now is the hub for spirituality, but the most common probably two deities that you meet there where you go, and they're represented everywhere, in the dances, in the celebrations, as statues on every corner, literally in every house, is Barong and Rangda. And Barong being a good god and Rangda being an evil witch. And her statue is very scary, but yet people worship both because they know that one cannot exist without the other. So I guess I answered your question, and back to the game. I'm ready to open the card. So this is last chance for you to feel what's in the card, or change your mind if you feel like you didn't guess. So let's see, what card is this? So this is the full card, and it has 0. If you're trying to picture a number, so it's 0. There is a figure of a man who is going traveling, and a wild hog next to him. They travel together, and I do see mountains and the field with crop. So if you guessed the card, or if you guessed the color, and there is an animal and a man in the card, it means just one thing: you really need to go explore something. You need to have either a vacation and there is a dog barking outside of my window. Usually in classical decks, the person who is represented in the full card is usually traveling with the dog. So yes, dog outside of my window, we do know that you're supposed to be on the card, but this is a different deck. So if you guess the card, you need to go on vacation, and you probably need to take your dog with you or your pet. So good job if you guess the card, and good job if you're already having vacation plans ahead of you. Also, this card represents moving somewhere with leaving everything behind. So if you are planning on moving to another country, I feel like it's going to be a really good decision for you, and you're probably gonna go it's all gonna go smoothly, and you're gonna get a visa or the paperwork that you need. So moving is the key for you in the next few months. Here goes another card. It's not major arcana card. I'm just want from you to guess maybe the number of the card, color, or maybe anything that is represented on this card. So try to feel it, try to concentrate it. I'm gonna give you a few seconds without talking, so you can actually go into the feeling of the energy of the card. Another question I had on my community post where I asked you guys to ask me questions, it was someone asked if I speak light language and is there a dark language. I do not speak light language. I'm not even sure what you're referring to when you talk about light language, probably it's the light, how to call them, light warriors, light workers, who probably channel some language that no one understands, probably that. I do not speak that, and if to answer if there is a dark language, if light language exists, there should be dark languages always be there because of the duality. So probably if you believe in light language, you should believe in the dark language as well. When it comes to channeling entities, or I think this question was specifically about demonology, demons. So I think when it comes to demons and working with infernal beings, the language that I think that is universal, it's Latin, and that's why a lot of incantations and demonology books are written in Latin. Also, I do believe that it's probably Latin language for modern and demons who are still present in our modern life. Latin language for them is like English for us. Everywhere we go, we can find someone who speaks English, right? This is the language of the world, language that connects us. So when it comes to demonology, I find Latin is the language that connects all deities, all demons, especially demons right now. And actually, when I talk about embracing darkness, if you think of it, all the demons at some point were perceived and worshipped as gods, as minor gods, lesser gods, but they were never perceived as something bad in ancient times. And that's can help you also to embrace the darkness, because demons are actually not evil creatures, they're just lesser gods, and the gods who has less power than the major gods. Also, when talking about languages and connection to the spiritual realm, I feel like the deities and the demons, the angels, they have the ability to talk any language. So that's why for us sometimes when we invoke someone, it doesn't even matter what language we use. Of course, I feel it is better if you, for example, invoking Greek deities and you can speak Greek. This is the best, right? Or if you are invoking Slavic deities and you speak Slavic language, it's the best communication. That's why sometimes, when I talk to the dead people, when I have a reading, and I try to always ask if the dead person, what language they were speaking, because sometimes they do appear. Like, for example, I have an Italian client and he wants to connect with his grandfather. And the client speaks English, but the grandfather never spoke a word of English. So even if the grandfather will come, there is a huge possibility that he will only speak Italian. So when this happens, it's very hard to communicate with humans, right? Because they don't speak Italian. But when it comes to deities, they do have the ability to speak our languages. So sometimes when we're walking, we don't even say anything aloud. We can communicate in our minds, right? So language sometimes is not important. It's the knowledge and the intention and the ability to see them, because not every person, no matter what some people think, not every person has the ability to actually communicate with the divine, and not every person has a gift of seeing or hearing these infernal or celestial beings. Let's go back to the game. I'm going to show you the card now. So as you see, the card is very dark. It shows horns, a tree, a squirrel with the horn. It's showing runes, and the number is 8. If you feel that, if you actually got this card right, I can tell you one thing, that's probably it's time to run, to escape, to hide. If there are problems in your life that you don't know how to deal with, it is because you cannot deal with them at this moment. You just have to run and hide. Also, this card represents building an altar and building a wall of protection. So maybe you need to work on your protection game and work on your altar as well. And if you're traveling, it could be a traveling altar. And if you steal in a witch closet, it can always be something like small, tiny that you can set up every time you need it when no one is watching it, you know. Altar can be as simple as just two rocks and a tarot deck, and as complicated as the whole room or the whole house dedicated to your practices. It is up to you what you choose and how you do it. So let's go to the next card. So this is a major arcana card, and I want you to think if there is a person on the card or there is no person, what kind of landscape, what colors are there, if there is a moon or the sun or anything like that depicted on the card, if there are any runes or any numbers, Arabic numbers, Roman numbers, what kind of numbers are on the card. So try to concentrate and connect to the card. I wonder if you have any ideas. I probably should have played with you, but I already looked at the card. I had a peek. You know, tell me in the comment section if you're actually good with this or bad, because I know when I post psychic tests on my social media, I get a lot of comments saying that you guys like guess every time, and I always think that, oh my god, like so many people who are actually amazing at the psychic tests. But I also think that maybe this comment represents like 1 or 2% of the people who watch the video. So maybe even though you do comment and say that you guessed the cards right or the object that I'm holding, but it's not so many of you, considering how many people actually watch the video. I'm personally, I can't say that I'm good with guessing the object, but I'm better with telling the story of the object. For me, it's easier to, when I touch the object, when I have it in my hands, and I can tell you where is it from. Is it, especially if it's antique, is it fake or real? Is it worth something? I like to sense the blood on the object. For example, if the object was at war in a battle, or if it was the headmaster use, it's very interesting because that energy of anything that is belong to human is very strong. So the object that was touched by humans is more likely to have more formed and readable energy than the object that was just not approached by humans. And if it was connected to anything like, for example, blood, or it was on a neck, for example, jewelry is very easy to read, I think, because it kind of holds the power of the person who was wearing it. So for example, when you come across a ring and you take it in your hands, and I'm talking about antiques, you can always say if it was a ring that belonged to a witch, or it was a ring to belong to a normal person, it was a ring that belonged to a bloodline, or it was just like a ring that probably never left the store. You can always tell it when you hold it. I think the same with books. You can say a lot about a book. Mirrors are very easy to read. Art as well. That's why when we go to art galleries, actually the next time you're in an art gallery, do this test, like stand in front of the art, especially if it's not modern art, but like an old art piece, maybe a few centuries old. Nowadays museums and art galleries, they do not put on display the real objects. They put replicas because they're scared that people are going to steal them, or they're going to touch them and destroy them. Sometimes there are riots in the museums, like people trying to destroy the art. So a lot of artifacts, art pieces and objects in the museums are actually fake, and we don't even know that because the museum never gonna say that. So when you go there, and you want to train your intuition, your psychic abilities, your witch powers, try to stand in front of an art piece or a statue and actually feel if it's a real one or if it's a fake. Sometimes really good copies feel like the originals because the person who do the copy, especially for example, Mona Lisa, it has so many copies. And when you stand in front of a good copy, you can sense the love of the artist that was put into this copy because the artist was so inspired by Da Vinci, for example, by his work, by the art piece itself. So sometimes you just can't say if it's real or fake, but if you go to many places and like play with the energy of objects, eventually you can see if it's a really good copy that feels almost as identical to original because the artist was staying in front of original and painting from the original, so the copy feels almost identical energy, but there's always something that tells you that it's not original one, the original piece, especially if you are into the work of this artist and if you're connected to their presence and their energy. It's like, for example, if you like Van Gogh and you go to and see like few hundred paintings of his, and then it's so easy for you to see when there is a fake and there is a real one, right? So this is a good test for you to have, and it's very interesting. It gets you out of your house, out of your home, and you get to explore new things, see people, see art, I really like to do this. And you can do the same in an antique store or in somebody else's home. When you get invited to a home of a stranger or a person that you barely know, maybe even if it's a party, it's Christmas time, Christmas season is coming, so you might be invited to work events and work parties. Go through the person's home, but try to look normal, don't be weirdo, and just try to look at the objects and see what you can sense, who do they belong to, what you can say about people living in the house, or maybe the best game to have is to see if something is haunted or the whole house is haunted, the person is haunted. So just work on your psychic abilities anytime you can. Use any opportunity to that, because there's so many things that we can learn from just observing and being in the moment. And I feel like sometimes we lose this opportunity because when we go somewhere, we glued to the phone. Sometimes I go to the biggest museums. One of my dreams growing up was to go to Prado, the Spanish Museum of Art in Madrid. And when I went there, first of all, I was so surprised by so many people who went there. And it was off season because Spain is very seasonal country. It's like in summer you just like flooded with tourists on the streets, but in winter it's quieter. But I went off season, but there was so many people there. But every person would use their phone to take photos or just like chat with someone, or it's just like, they were looking at the art through the lenses of their phone. So how much energy can you actually pick up if you still glued to the phone, Same I feel when I went to the Louvre in Paris. And it's such an amazing museum, and I had to go there twice because the first like 5-6 hours wasn't even enough to cover half of it. But when you enter the Louvre, and it's just not what you expect, and it's so huge and it has different entrances. So I came to this person who kind of like helps people to navigate their way in the museum, and I just opened my mouth to ask which way is the best way to start, because every museum they have like this map, unspoken map of how the things on display are supposed to be seen. So usually you start going by right, or you start going by stairs, and like you start from the highest floor and you finish at the first floor. So I assumed in Louvre it would be the same, and I just wanted to ask where to go, and the person right away, they said the Mona Lisa is this way. So like everyone expect that when you go to the Louvre, you go see Mona Lisa. And to be honest, Mona Lisa in the Louvre, it was probably one of the most boring pieces I've seen. because probably of the hype, and you expect it to be like this huge amazing piece, but it was quite small, and I can't even say that this was real. And the amount of people and security, and you can't even go up close to the art because you have to be behind the line, and there are people who are not letting anyone close to even 2 meters next to the art, and you have to wait in this huge line to actually go even to this 2 meter distance to see the art, and I just didn't bother to go there. I feel when I went to Prado, and in Prado there is the first, let's say, original Mona Lisa painting, because Da Vinci, Leonardo, he made a few paintings before painting the Mona Lisa that is in the Louvre now. And I didn't know that. And being in the room that was filled with the first copies of Mona Lisa that was made by Leonardo and his disciples, that was fascinating, and no one talks about this, no one tells you that. I didn't even expect to see that. And standing there in the real art that was touched by Da Vinci's hands, it's like such an interesting energy. You could even feel these words of how he was communicating with his disciples, and the way all these pieces came together, and the mind process behind this work. It's just fascinating, and it really gave me this idea of how the Da Vinci's paintings and art supposed to feel. So I guess I'm talking too much. Let's go back to the game. So I'm gonna open the card and see what's there. So if you have any ideas what the card is, I give you like last few seconds to think about what's inside before I actually open it. This is the card. It's the World card. It's 21st, the last card in the Major Arcana in the tarot deck. It has the moon and the sun and the moon on that side. That's why I asked you if you can sense if there is moon or the sun. It shows this huge Titan-like demigod creature, right? Because if you can see here, these are the people, like small, tiny warriors that looking up this creature, because it could be a deity, because his hands made of these trees, and it looks like the Knights of Stars and the heart with the rune as well. This is the most probably unusual world card that I've seen in tarot, but it has such a unique energy about it and unique feeling, right? When you see this, you always you kind of like right away feel protected and tiny in front of the world and the universe that is in front of you. If you guessed this card, if you actually guessed that it was the universe, I feel like you have a very unusual soul purpose, like that is bigger than you can imagine. I feel that you connected to the universe in the most unique, unusual ways, and sometimes you cannot explain things, and you have these ideas, and you have this tremendous love for the earth, for nature, for animals, for human beings, and you are this beautiful creature who try hard to make this earth the best place for everyone. And there are results sometimes, and sometimes you fail, but the main message from this card that even when you fail, you just don't know what you've done in the eyes of the universe. You're so little, so tiny to understand your purpose, your path, and how you interact with the universe, that even sometimes failure leads you to greatness and helps others. Sometimes what comes to me when I was talking about failure, I've seen a short on YouTube, I think, and it showed a very famous model, and she was walking on stage on a catwalk, and she fell, and then she stood up and she was smiling, and she's continued walking. Sometimes when you fail and you feel that this is it, this is the end of the world for you, but other people look at you and you're such an inspiration to them, because they are no longer scared to fail, because they know that they can always stand up and keep walking with a smile. And you know, this is probably the best example of your failures, because when you do fail and you share this failure or with the world, or when people see it, you actually inspire them to move forward, to continue. You know, the universe works in mysterious ways, so you never know what your step or what your action can bring and means to others. So don't be scared being you. Don't be scared to live in this beautiful universe and be in this creature you want to be. It doesn't matter what other thinks about you. It's all about you being happy and you feeling good in your skin and feeling good in the way you can express yourself. Just be crazy. If this is what you want to be, say words that are insane and be yourself all the time. I think Nietzsche said, "Show me an insane person and I will cure him for you." I think he meant that we are all insane. And just we show it differently. So strive to be yourself all the time. And believe in the guidance of the universe, because you are always guided and it will be okay. No matter where you are, no matter what you're going through, no matter what you think, how lost you are, it's always going to be okay, because you live in your life the way you can at the moment. And I don't know, such a beautiful card. It got me thinking about how we are all connected in the universe. I want to take a minute to honor you, all of you watching, because without me, without you guys, there would be no me. All the things I do is just because I see the result of my work being mirrored in you, when I receive your comments, when you buy my readings, when you get my things and you buy my books, or when you just comment on my social media, like, and I know that I connected to so many of you. This is probably the best gift that can be given to me, to share my path with all of you, to see that I am not alone in my own insanity, that we are in this together, and some are crazier than me. And I see you crazy ones in my comment sections, and I get inspired by you, by the things you say. And sometimes you guys don't even realize how much inspiration I get from you, how much love I receive from you, and how much it helps me on my journey, and how much it means to me to share my life with you everywhere I go, and always know that I'm not alone no matter what. I'm sending you all my love and positive vibes so they can get better. Thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you for being you. Thank you for saying everything that's on your mind and sharing with me. I do appreciate it more than you ever know. Everything I do for you. And I can't wait to see you in my next video.